Join the Classic Game Room community to get your questions answered on Thursday CGR Q&A. The following review has been approved by Lord Karnage and the best of Classic Game Room.
Good morning and welcome to Drawing with Lord Karnage. This is Mark Bustler from Classic Game Room and Lord Karnage, and today I'm drawing Ethel the Cyborg Ninja. I'm up to page 42, which is right in the middle of the book. More or less in the middle of the book, and it's these are really fun pages to draw because they're extremely text heavy. This is where we learn what's really going on in Ethel the Cyborg Ninja. So you actually, if you read the completed book when it's done and you look at this video, you may notice a lot of changes in here, just in the wording and whatnot. And I haven't done any text Q&A or proofreading, so there's likely typos and grammatical errors, but that'll get fixed in the final round of cleanup. But I'm trying to squeeze a lot of back and forth between Ethel the Cyborg Ninja, who just rescued Edit Station 1 after he was floating in space for many billions of years. And you may wonder how's that possible when he was built in a computer lab in the 1970s. If you read Disco 8-Track, or if you're reading Disco 8-Track, which is my book about the backstory of Edit Station 1, that explains his creation. But there may be some time travel in the Classic Game Room universe here. You'll learn about that later. But anyway, he's been floating in space for billions of years, since basically the dawn of time. And he knows, and he's learned while floating in space to play Lost Solitaire, and he learned how to hack the Vectronics 9000 computer servers. So he knows what the Vectronics 9000 knows, and the Vectronics 9000 is looking for the Sword of Oceans. It's captured Ethel's father, who is the human who originally discovered the Sword of Oceans. Ethel is his daughter, so she's the last person to have seen it. That was about 20 years ago. Now it's lost, but the computer's trying to hunt her down, figuring that she's probably its best chance of locating it. And she doesn't really know where it is, but she's got tattoos all over her, which turn out to be star charts. Good morning. It's the next day, and I'm drowning my morning sorrows in coffee with a banana, drawing Ethel the Cyborg Ninja. Got a lot done last night, actually. Did some heavier rough inks on this page where Errol comes in and starts blowing away the Vectronics corporate forces, or these like nameless, faceless guys here. And there's the Vectronics headquarters. So we're gonna have Errol flying in to orbit the planet up there. I'm gonna get a big detailed shot of the Vectronics building. Spend a lot of time in the background on this because I like to give people a lot of things to look through in the backgrounds. When I take the time to do a background, it's usually filled with hidden stuff. FYI. And this is actually built off of a pencil sketch, which I scanned and put in the background. Do some more detail work on their weapons before I draw that in there, but it's blocked out, and we get their, like the goons, whatever you want to call them, the corporate goons. And then there's going to be a lot of detail work here in the background. I was doing that last night. And here's a sketch of them realizing they're under attack a split second before their heads all explode. So this is how this panel's looking, and I've got to do a lot more detail work on the tattoo, which is a giant sword here, and then there's like wraps around to her back, and there's some star charts and stuff. I'm going to leave some near final inks here and then move on to the next page. So I dropped the fan service line down to just one word. I think we get the point. It's just Edit Station 1's just being rude and obnoxious, and she's fairly naive to all of this. And let me save that. Not used to dealing with such a jerk computer, since her computer in her spaceship is actually very polite. Complete difference between Errol and Edit Station 1, but here we're gonna, I guess her hand is still gonna be up here in the shot, but I do that. And on to another page of dialogue. Why is the Sword of Oceans so important? So, for most of the readers who are getting into the book, this will explain what the Sword of Oceans is from Wind Squid, and why it's important. Because it's a badass sword, that's why. So for the rest of this page, I'm going to have a drawing of the Sword of Oceans up here, and I'll do that a bit later. I'm going to do all the swords at once, or at least for the first half of the book, because I'm going to go off the master drawing that I used for Wind Squid 0. And I need to use that drawing to do the tattoo work on her stomach, and a couple of the space, like flashback space scenes. I'll probably block in the blacks here. Here's a shot of Errol, and I'll show you how I'm using the model of Errol that I built to draw Errol. In fact, we have two shots. There's that one there, and there's this one here. And then a close-up where she's talking to him. And then some more shots of Errol going into the atmosphere around the planet where they're going to invade the Vectronics server system and use it to travel the 93 billion light years across the universe. Here's a look at page 40 and a shot of Errol, which was drawn from a model of Errol that I made that looks like this. You probably won't be able to see this since it's black clay. I don't have a light on here at the moment, or one that I can easily put on this, but it's I thought it would be better to build Errol out of a model and then photograph the model and then put it into the book in Photoshop using its own layer, and then draw on top of that in order to really nail all of the angles, since Errol is actually pretty complicated. So here's my model of Errol, photograph of it, and I'm going to shrink that, put it into the frame like this, and then draw pen and ink over the model. So, my wife said, "Isn't that cheating?" And I said, "Nope. Since I designed the model, I can do pretty much what I want with it." Now the nose did droop a bit in the oven, so I always straighten out the nose a little bit. And after I'm done with the model work, I'll frequently just hold up the model and draw it, and eventually, after I do it enough, I figure I'll just memorize it all. So now what I'm going to do is drop out the photograph and the digital sketch layer, and you can see that I'm left with a pen and ink drawing of Errol, or a very rough ink drawing of Errol from this perspective. And let's see, who put his like a 1980s cell phone pouch on his chest. Actually, I don't know what that's for, but probably should have some sort of giant pouch on their chest, right? But you've got like a giant armor plate here in the front, which of course, as you can see, does him very little good. So this is the rough inks, and her battle armor has more shoulder armor plating on her arms, so they're going to be a lot bigger. Ethel hasn't necessarily been lifting, she's just got bigger shoulder armor. See, torso has this black piece of armor on it, and I'm going to put belts all over on this one since she's going to have guns hanging every which way. In this scene here, she's actually putting her sword on her side like a samurai sword. And Station 1's down there talking to her. So this is the rough ink, so I'll go through and clean this stuff up a little bit later here. Alright. So there you have it. The progression of Ethel the Cyborg Ninja for today. So, see you next time. Drawing with Lord Karnage. Thank you.
The Best of Classic Game Room is now on DVD, Blu-ray, and Hyper Laser Vision album set.